Star Wars Jedi Survivor. We're now getting closer and closer to the release, and with the recent gameplay from IGN, we now have a better idea of what to expect from this game. In this video, I wanted to go over some stuff that you have most likely missed about the enemies, details of the gameplay, open world stuff, and things like that, because after that gameplay, there's been a lot of different videos, interviews, and other appearances of developers that I've tried to basically boil together to this video, where I'm gonna shoot you some quick information that you probably don't know if all you've seen is that 9-minute gameplay video. So why don't we jump straight into it? First of all, I want to let you know that on Friday, the 17th at 10 AM Pacific time, IGN are actually hosting their Fan Fest, and Star Wars Jedi Survivor will be there with a developer to show some new parts of the game, so keep your eyes peeled for that. But moving on, in an interview, the creative director on the game gave us a couple of very interesting tidbits on the game. First of all, he confirmed that the game is indeed made in Unreal Engine 5 and not Unreal Engine 4, something that a lot of people have asked about, and if I'm gonna be completely honest, I don't really know the differences, but at least it's confirmed. Something he did say though that really caught my attention was that he said that the game is gonna be less corridor-like than Fallen Order, more side areas to explore and more rewards to be had if you stray away from the main path. Personally, I am very excited for this, and coupled with this, they also confirmed that fast travel will be in the game, which I am very happy to hear about, on top of the fact that you can mount a lot of the creatures around the world to traverse the larger areas on the planets. So this sounds like the perfect combination basically. More side areas and exploring to do, and also new tools to do so, because I really hated having to backtrack through an entire level when I just went to collect one echo or something like that. So overall, sounds fantastic. We also got some new story details from this, in particular in regards to Bode Akuna, which is the guy we can see for a couple of seconds in the trailer. He's a rogue, but also a good guy, and he has a strong bond with Cal, which translates into gameplay. So he specifically said here that he will not just be standing on the mantis like the crew did in Fallen Order, but he's actually going to help you out. He's going to aid you during traversals of new planets, help you with attacks and such. I wonder how big of a section of the game that he's actually going to be in. Personally, I think it would be cool if he were just there for a couple of levels, but most of the time you'd be alone with just Cal and BD1. And then I wanted to jump over a little bit more to some gameplay stuff, as well as some new details on the enemies we will be facing off against. Before we do that, I just wanted to let you guys know that if you are looking for some clean Star Wars merch, I just launched my Sheev merch brand, available at sheev.shop, with just one simple design. Basically something that will catch the attention of someone who is a Star Wars fan, but will not be super colorful or bold for someone who might not be a Star Wars fan. If you're interested in this and you want to greatly support the channel, check out sheev.shop. But now back to Star Wars Jedi Survivor. So one thing you might have noticed in the gameplay was this little meter down here below the force meter, and this is apparently a time slow field. So the time slow will in this game be separated from the normal force powers. Personally, I'm very happy about this because I very rarely use the force slow. I would rather use a heavy attack, force push or something like that. So to have them separated and have the time slow be more of an ultimate for Cal makes a lot of sense to me. They didn't specify a lot about this, but to be honest, when I looked at the gameplay, I thought it looked like you regenerated your force powers way faster when the time slow field was activated. So there could be more effects than just the slow to that ability, but I'm sure we'll learn more about that in the near future. So now let's get over to the enemies of the game. And I'm not going to talk about all the enemies from the previous game, you know what that is. But in the new game, we got some details and stuff that wasn't shown in the gameplay, which I was very excited for. First of all, we know that the gameplay takes place on the planet Kobo, and that these humanoids that Cal fights are called the Bedlam Raiders, and they are the ones who control the old separatist droids. In terms of the droids, it's pretty straightforward. B1 droids, cannon fodder. B2 droids, they have both melee, blaster and a rocket launcher. They can be dangerous, but easy once you learn to counter their melee or push the rocket. Then we have the BX commando droids, who uses the melee and different combos. But they also confirmed that the droidica will indeed be in the game. There's no footage of it yet, but the design director said that they work like expected from the movies, but they also incorporate their bubble shield and roll into their melee attack, so you can't just stun lock them with your lightsaber. I'm not really sure how that's gonna play out, but it does sound interesting. On top of that, one of the big enemies is gonna be the Magna Guards. They have been confirmed since way back, but the design director said that they play both offensively and defensively. And they string together strange combinations and timings, basically trying to throw the player off guard. I really like the sound of this because in the first game you could pretty much predict all the enemies' attacks. There were a couple of enemies that had some hard to time attacks, but you could still, if you practiced enough, figure out how to counter them. So if the Magna Guards are a little bit more inconsistent, I think that could definitely be a fun enemy to face off against. They also have the Shield Trooper, which is basically a scout trooper that can take a bit more damage. They said that you can either hit the shield enough with the lightsaber to break it, or try to get around the trooper and hit him from the back. But apparently the most efficient way is to pull the shield away from them and then throw it back, Captain America style. So make sure you have your force power saved up to do that. One of the biggest new enemies is the DT Sentry Droid, which is gonna be a bit like a brute enemy. And there's 3 variants of it. One with electric staff and missiles, one with a big hammer, and one with a rapid fire armament. And the interesting thing about these is that you can actually cut off one of the limbs and they will still continue attacking you, with limited combat capabilities of course, but still that's quite new. And lastly, I also wanted to mention the KX Security Droid Enforcer, which is not like the KX droids in the previous games, but this guy does not grab you and throw you into the ground, but instead wields a riot baton. And these were apparently the ones that were used to train the normal scout troopers, but they are 3 times deadlier than them. So yeah, those are the details I wanted to give you today. I'm sure we will have more to talk about on Friday and later in February as well. But I hope you learned something new from this video, at least that was my goal with it. And if you're new on the channel, feel free to hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with all things Star Wars gaming. I appreciate you all watching, thank you very much, and as always, may the Force be with you.